Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you for being here. I am accompanied by Councilman at Large, our Chairman, Councilman Ricky Templet, as well as our Councilman at Large for Division B, Scott Walker, Louisiana Department of Health, Region 1 Medical Director, Dr. Joseph Cantor. Joe Valiente is here from our Emergency Management Department, Tim Coulon representing the Jefferson Business Council, as well as Todd Murphy from the Chamber of Commerce. So I know we just recently met, and I know I had a press conference on Friday where I went into detail explaining the uptick in Jefferson Parish. Today we stand at 9,403 cases with, unfortunately, and I hate to say this every time, 483 deaths, people that we lost in this parish to this horrible disease. The numbers, and I will go over it again, you know, after we got past our high point and around April 20th, we fell into a good place for about 2 months where the daily case count was 30 to 60 cases a day. In the past few days, we have surpassed that. And I know this weekend, the numbers didn't come out for Saturday, but on Sunday, we had to see 175 new cases on our dashboard on the Louisiana Department of Health. I also announced that we started a COVID compliance hotline. The number I will give you is 504-736-6929. You can also fill out a web form at jeffparish.net. We announced this at Friday. I believe our press conference was at 11 o'clock. I think it went live. I fully thought we would have about 20 to 30 calls, maybe at the highest 50 calls. Right now, we're at 508 calls for complaints. So throughout the weekend, we had to increase the storage. We had to assign staff to empty out the mailbox because we were getting complaints that the line was too full and it wasn't allowed. And currently, we're inputting all that data, sending out our inspectors to possibly look at some of those businesses. So I want to thank the public for responding. I want to thank the public and the community for caring enough about our viability here that you would take the time to respond. And I'm sure there are even more people than 500 people who tried, because for some period of time on the first day and a period of time Saturday morning, the capacity was full, so before we could empty that. So I'm concerned in Jefferson Parish. We have worked hard. We were one of the first states, but when you talk about the state at that time, we're talking about March and April timeframe, the numbers came largely from Orleans and Jefferson Parish. So, you know, for a long time, Louisiana was second, third in the country per capita, of course, because we're dealing with New York, so I have to always say per capita. But it was because of the numbers here. We have worked hard in Jefferson Parish. We went through the stay-at-home order, and we really did well. But I'm certainly concerned about the uptick right now that we're going into, and I do not want to see us have to fall backwards with all the effort that we have done. We are going to do everything to prevent that from happening, because I know businesses are on the line, I know employees need their job, and if we fall back for a medical reason, it really cripples us on the economy as well. And the economy is just not about, I want a strong Jefferson Parish economy. I understand the economy is how people put food on the table. It's how they feed their families. So this is critical, and it has our utmost and our highest priority. I'm also very concerned with these new cases coming in, and Dr. Cantor is here to explain more, that it's the young people who are carrying this, and the young people get milder cases, and there will be, you know, more information on asymptomatic spread. So the concern there, and before we knew so much about it, and the medical community wasn't talking about it before, in March, people were sick, and the message to you I would have been saying is, if you're sick, stay at home. If you don't feel well, don't go to work. Well, now the concern is that people carry this virus, don't know they have it, don't feel bad, and are out and about spreading it, infecting other people. This is something that we didn't talk about in March because it wasn't being talked about in the medical community. It is very much being talked about now. So a concern about asymptomatic spread, and a concern where the high number of cases we've seen this week come from the 18 to 29-year-old age group that gets a milder case, so even more, they're out and about even more, okay? So that's the concern we have. Make no mistake, the best tool to reduce the transmission of this virus is for everyone to wear masks, especially so indoors. You know, of course, we weren't talking about this in March. Outdoors is less risky. The wind carries the aerosol from your mouth and moves it along, and it's not just lingering in the air, okay? So for these reasons, I will sign an emergency proclamation effective Wednesday, July 1st, that it will be mandatory if you go into a business, you're a patron or a customer going indoor to a business, to wear a mask or face covering. This will apply to businesses in Jefferson Parish. We're going to require customers and patrons to have face coverings. I'll remind you that the governor's proclamation already requires employees to have masks. The business is required now to have all employees wearing masks. So with this emergency proclamation that I will sign as parish president, now patrons, now the customers have to wear masks. It will apply to the things that you go out in public and do. The retail, the grocery stores, your restaurants and bars, your eating and drinking establishments, doctor's offices, business offices. It'll include common areas of buildings. I'll give you an example how we handle it in our office building. When you come in, you have to wear a mask. When you walk into the hallway, to the restroom, in the elevator, when you get in your office suite, maybe you sit at a cubicle, you're spaced out enough, you're 6 feet away from other people, you can take your mask off. But in the common areas of office buildings, this is our requirement. These are common sense measures that the medical community widely agrees on, and we're going to do our best in Jefferson Parish to keep this dashboard low on a daily basis so we don't fall back, and that one day we can see ourselves getting into phase 3. And I don't know any other way to do it. So I will remind you, there's a 50% capacity in restaurants. So already now, all of the tables aren't filled. They should be distance out. I know personally, when I go into a restaurant and I see somebody I know, I might be between tables or I'm in the doorway. It's a tight space. So what we envision, and what this will be in our order, when you walk into a restaurant, you have to have your face covering. When you get seated at a table, and of course you're eating, take the face covering off. When you get ready to leave and before you leave, put the face covering back on. I think it protects everyone, and certainly it protects the employees who are there all the time wearing face coverings to protect the customers. So again, the same thing with bars. Bars, they're not allowed to be standing at bars at the bar area. It should be seated area only according to the governor's order at 25% capacity. So they would be treated the same as restaurants right now, because you're only allowed to be at a bar if there's seating allowed, so it would be treated the same. We're trying to deal with this risk where the risk is, indoor activity. Right now, the medical community says all of us being here is a much less risky environment than if we were all in one of the rooms in that building, and so that's why we're out here. We want to encourage everyone to continue to social distance, continue to keep washing your hands, but again, outdoor activity is a lot less risky. And that's why this mandate is just for indoor activity if you're a customer or a patron. I need our community as a whole to respond to this. We need to engage in common sense behaviors, so again, so we don't have to fall back to an earlier phase, and so one day we can envision ourselves getting into a phase 3, which means even more density. And I would fully expect that this requirement would still be here while the risk is there. I don't know the latest numbers, if you read different journals, but generally speaking, there's still 90% of us who haven't gotten this virus yet. So the risk is there for everyone, and as we can see, one bad weekend where people are lax, people go to bars, people go to parties, is pushing us back tremendously, and I'm so disappointed with the numbers we're seeing this week, so that is why I'm taking this action. I think I see us in this for some period of time, and so for that reason, I'm not giving an end date. We have to see where this goes. I never would have thought we would have been here now. If you would have asked me a while ago, I would have thought we would have managed that curve, flattened the curve, and then we would have been out. You know, the thought back then was that, oh, in the summer, it's going to go away, and get ready, maybe we'll have it in the fall. Never did I think I would be put back in this place in June. So we're going to react as this virus surfaces in our community. We're going to make the appropriate public policy action. Testing, I want to stress, and I will say this again, that's another reason early on, and just last week, we saw testing very high at our testing sites. We have been very aggressive in Jefferson Parish in testing, by far the highest testing in the state. Right now, with Ochsner, a partnership with Ochsner, Johnny Bright, today from noon to 6, tomorrow from noon to 6. Pilgrim Baptist Church, again, a partnership with Ochsner on Wednesday and Thursday from 9 to 4. Again, you only have to be 2 years older, no symptoms. And then our own Ilario Center testing every day beginning on at 8 a.m. And I also want to say, again, I'll repeat this, we're having a blood drive with the blood center free antibody test on Saturday, July 18th at Pard, and July 25th from 9 to 2 at Pontiff. And then our census, I always remind everybody to please fill out the census. We as a Jefferson Parish are only in this for we only have a 62% positive rate of testing. Response rate for the census. So with that, I'm going to invite Dr. Cantor up to speak, and I think also Councilman Walker wants to address you, and then we will open it up for any questions. Dr. Cantor?
Thank you, Madam President. From a public health perspective, this is the right call for Jefferson Parish. It's not an easy call, and not a whole lot in this pandemic has been easy, but this is the right call for Jefferson Parish. It will prevent infections and it will save lives. There's absolutely no question about that. We're learning more and more every day about asymptomatic infection and about how simple masks can help prevent that spread. As Madam President mentioned, one of the trends that we now see, both in Region 1 and Jefferson Parish and statewide, is that infections in young people, particularly age 18 through 29, are skyrocketing. Fastest growing demographic statewide in the past 2 weeks. In that age group, you are more likely than somebody older to have mild or no symptoms when you have COVID, but you're just as likely to spread it to somebody else. That's where masks come so important, because they stop that transmission. They stop that transmission before the person even knows that they are transmitting it to someone else, even knows that they themselves are sick. That's why masks work so well. Every day we learn more data to show how masks are effective. A couple weeks ago, the Lancet, a very respectable medical journal, put out the biggest review to date on masks. They reviewed 172 other studies and concluded that they are highly effective in reducing the spread of COVID, particularly amongst people that have mild or no symptoms. That said, I know the data can get wonky, and sometimes it's helpful for me to hear stories, so I wanted to share an account as well. Now, not everything I agree with in this story, but let me explain what happened. In Springfield, Missouri, about a month and a half ago, a hairdresser came to work infected with COVID. She was symptomatic. She didn't yet know she had COVID, but she had symptoms. Within one day, she infected her coworker, the other hairdresser that worked in that shop. Both of those two individuals proceeded to work and treat clients for 8 days. I don't agree with that decision. That was a poor choice on their part, but that's what they did. Now, Missouri had and still has very strong masking laws for beauty salons. Both the hairdressers and the patrons wear masks universally, 100% of the time, and that's what happened in this hair salon. And after 8 days of both stylists being symptomatic, not just positive, but symptomatic, and over 140 clients being served over those 8 days, 0 got COVID from that. That doesn't mean that that's going to happen 100% of the time, and that doesn't mean that this is a license to do whatever when you have a mask on, but it does speak to how effective these simple devices are. There are billions of dollars being spent towards a vaccine of COVID, towards a cure. This is the cure right here, and it's cheap, and everyone can have one. Masks will reduce the spread of transmission in Jefferson Parish, period. That's good for the residents of Jefferson Parish, and that's good for business as well. I'll tell you, look at the writing on the wall right now. You look at Houston and Arizona and Florida and the drastic measures they're having to make. And I personally don't want to be in a position to say, could we have done more here? We can do more, this will do more, and it will save lives. It's a difficult choice, but it's the right thing to do. Thanks. Councilman?
Thank you, Dr. Cantor, and I want to invite Councilman at Large, Councilman Scott Walker.
Nobody wants to be here right now, obviously. We don't want to be in this situation. I don't enjoy wearing a mask. I don't like it. I think it's uncomfortable. I don't think anybody likes wearing a mask, but that's where we are as a parish. We were in a good spot, and now we're not in a good spot. So I think it's incumbent upon every person who associates with people in public to wear a mask when they're in public. As a small business owner in Jefferson Parish, my staff is required to wear masks behind the counter at all times. So I think it's only appropriate for people who come into that business to wear masks as well, to make sure that my employees are safe as they're watching out for your safety too. Because the reality is, for our businesses in Jefferson Parish, keep hitting that. The reality is, for our business in Jefferson Parish, if you go into a business and you spread COVID to one of those employees, that business has to close. My business is 50% of what it was pre-COVID, so closing now for a week or two isn't a very good option. There are some places that may close and not reopen. So that's the reality in Jefferson Parish. That's where we are. It's a wake-up call for us. You've seen the numbers, and research shows and science shows, as you've heard, that masks reduce the spread of COVID everywhere, especially in closed spaces. So wear a mask in public. Some are going to disagree. Some are going to criticize. Some are going to yell and scream and say, you can't force me to wear a mask. I will never wear a mask. Well, in that case, you're being irresponsible, and you're not looking out for the greater good of this parish. Because what else can we do? What else can we do as a whole to slow the spread of coronavirus in our parish? We can all wear a mask. That helps. It's proven. It will help. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. With that, are there any questions? Yeah, Damon?
Okay, so it goes into effect Wednesday. What penalties are there for people who don't wear masks inside, and how will it be enforced?
So my understanding is that, and our parish attorney is working on it right now as we speak, because there was, you know, anything with the parish is going to be a misdemeanor, $500 fine. That also comes with 6 months in prison. I do not think we're going to put anybody in prison for this. This is a common sense measure. We are not trying to, you know, get a business involved when one customer is not wearing a mask. But I will aggressively pursue businesses that just are not going to abide by this order. I understand they can't control every customer coming in. I understand, you know, individually there are times where people might come in with the mask and pull it down. We're going to be reasonable. This is about common sense, and you're going to see common sense on the enforcement side as well.
Who will do the enforcement?
So my understanding, and again, that research has to be done, I am trying to see if our own, my own staff can do the enforcement. That's the question, or whether the sheriff's office is the appropriate enforcement authority. So actually, my parish attorney's office is feverishly looking at that right now, because this is a new kind of enforcement under a executive proclamation. So they're researching that right now. But, you know, if this were passed as an ordinance by the council, the sheriff would be able to enforce it. I am doing this under an emergency declaration as the parish president, so that's where the issue comes in. But we will know that probably by the end of today. Yes? Again, this is a common sense thing. We did have 508 calls on the COVID complaint hotline. The question is, what did those calls center around? Largely employees not wearing masks. Of course, not customers wearing masks. They might have called about that, but that, you know, wasn't in effect at that time. And again, that doesn't go into effect until Wednesday. And also overcrowding, the density issue, the capacity, you know, a restaurant that's over 50%. They were largely around that. And many of the calls were multiple calls over the same businesses. And again, as I said Friday, we're not trying to jam up a business, but clearly as we can see, and I can tell you 5, and I won't name them, I can tell you 5 businesses that I know have not abided by anything because everybody talks about them. So we're going to go after the egregious ones. We're asking everyone, you know, I pleaded with people, frequent the businesses, give the businesses your money that care about this community. We all, it's not me that's responsible for that daily dashboard. It's not government that's responsible for that daily dashboard. The whole entire community, business, individuals, employees, customers are responsible for what's on that dashboard every day. And so this is to ensure, and you know, the thing that's not really fair about it is that when I wear a mask, I protect other people. People who aren't wearing a mask, they're not protecting you. So it doesn't follow with the responsibility. Sometimes it's the people who are unwilling to wear a mask that's infecting, you know, a higher chance of infecting the people who are wearing a mask. But now this will take care of that situation on indoor businesses. Yes. We haven't released it, you know, I'm not, and again, look, I mean, there was a concern that a competitor might call about a business, so, you know, I'm hoping that doesn't get out there. This was a common sense measure to understand what businesses are there. I'm not trying to trip up a business or embarrass a business, but I'll tell you, if a business just isn't compliant and isn't even trying, I'll personally, like I said, I'll go after, ask the fire marshal to go after them, because we all need to have a skin in the game on this. And for a business to be operating in this parish, bringing people together, to do a financial transaction, you know, the fact that they get a permit to do so means they're a part of this community. They pay taxes, they're here, they're on the customers use their roads to go to their business. So everybody is a member of this community and everybody has some responsibility in this. And again, these measures are just overwhelmingly Jefferson Parish businesses are complying, and I don't want that message to get lost. Overwhelmingly businesses are complying. But what we have, and I'll tell you, you know, anecdotally, when I go to the grocery store this weekend, maybe 90% of people were wearing masks, but we have an uptick now. But 2 weeks ago, it might have been 50% when we were, you know, so I think things got lax, and I think as the dashboard lowers and it's not on the front story of all the media channels, people can get lax. And so we have to get used to wearing these really until this virus isn't a threat to our community anymore. And that's the bottom line. And I know people are tired of it. Nobody's more tired of it than me and my staff. But this is critical work. And even like I said, I thought this would be a different day. I never thought in June I would have to be implementing stricter enforcement on masks. I thought, you know, after we got through and leveled things, I thought this conversation would be happening in September and October. But COVID is new to all of us, and we will respond accordingly. So my understanding, the way the attorneys explained it to me, is this is on the business. The business is the one that gets the occupational, the permit to be in business. So it's not like we're going to go approach a customer without wearing a mask, or the sheriff's office would approach a customer. It's the business required, just like they do no shirt, no shoes, no service. No shirt, no shoes, no mask, no service. So we're requiring businesses to enforce this for us and require patrons before they enter your business to have a mask on. And many are already. Many are already. I will say that. And I want to applaud those businesses that are already doing that. It's noticeable. It's noticed by the community. I hear it all over. Yes. So it's not consequences that we just made up. The only consequences that we as the parish have for anything, for a zoning issue, for any noise violation, anything, is a misdemeanor, $500 fine, 6 months in jail. And I hate to say that, nobody's going to jail over this, okay? You might get fined, nobody's going to go to jail over this. So, and I would say how we, you know, the enforcement, don't call 911 because somebody's not wearing a mask, but absolutely call 911 if a business isn't complying at all, or if, you know, there's a super spreader event, you know, that's just dangerous to everyone. And again, I said, I need to get with the sheriff, and we need to get more enforcement as to if he's going to enforce it with the attorneys telling us, or if I'll enforce it. So he might want a different number to call. I'm not sure yet. So we got a little bit of work to do before Wednesday, and we wanted to give people as much time as possible for businesses to be able to comply. But I couldn't wait any longer because our numbers go up every day, and we felt that this was this urgent that we needed to be very proactive on this new policy. No, it's canceled completely or postponed, Russian? Yeah, it's canceled. Yes. That event, the Uncle Sam Jam is, for the question, the Uncle Sam Jam has been canceled for this weekend, yes.
What are businesses supposed to do if they get customers into their business who refuse to leave? Because this is becoming an issue on social media. People play this up. How is a business owner supposed to escort a customer out of their business if they refuse to wear a mask? What is the area?
Look, I hope this doesn't get to be a very negative thing. You know, the policy is just like anything. How would they handle it if somebody walked into business without a shirt on? I mean, they would just politely ask them to leave. You know, and we have to get used to living like this as a community. And I know people aren't going to like it. I don't like it right now. I don't like that I'm having to deal with this. I don't like that the first 6 months of our administration has been all COVID. I don't like it either. So we don't live in a world where we get what we like. And it's all time to understand the risks. And everybody has a place in this responsibility in Jefferson Parish, every single one of us. Any other questions? No. Thank you so much.